Will Forza Horizon 6 run on handheld? That's what we're going to find out today. We are testing it on the Xbox Ally X, the Xbox Ally, the MSI Claw 8 AI Plus, and the Lenovo Legion Go 2. Now, all of these handhelds are running Windows 11 in Xbox mode or Xbox full screen experience, whatever you want to call it. Now, I am omitting some handhelds here that I normally test, like the OG Ally and the OG Ally X, purely because those are running SteamOS, and because we pay for all of our games on these tests. If a game is on Xbox Game Pass, I'm not going to buy the game. So just sorry about that. But if you do have one of those older Allies, you can just sort of look at the Xbox Ally X section and probably bump it down a little bit in terms of performance. And don't forget, this is a will it run video, so we're going to show you it all plugged in, so maximum power from the devices, and then we'll go through some resolutions and stuff just to see how the game will run, so you can then base your thoughts on, should I buy this or play it for free on Game Pass and get decent enough performance that you can then tweak yourself by adding, you know, different upscalers and different settings like that. So this is more like a baseline thing. So bear in mind, when you launch the game, you're going to be hit with Unpacking, and it is a stupidly large game, this. 146.4 gigabytes. I do also want to say, when I first booted it on this Legion Go 2 did come up with a GPU error saying it was out of date. I just closed it, restarted the system, and then that went away, and then I could actually play the game. Now, since all the others are actually waiting to unpack, let's start this time with the Legion Go 2. Okay, so now we are on the Legion Go 2. In the settings just here for the Legion Go 2's, you know, Legion Space, I'm a performance mode plugged in, so that's going to be maximum power. It's going to go up to 35 watts, right? And then down at the bottom, I am in efficiency as well, just to make sure that the GPU is getting all of the power here instead of diverting power to the CPU unnecessarily, right? So we are here. I've got 16 gig of VRAM set, just because that's how I've got it. It's a split 16/16 right across the board. In the game then, let's start off by going to video. I've got HDR off just purely because I'm not filming in HDR. So if I put HDR on, it's just going to look bad when you're watching this video. So don't worry about that. You can turn it on if you want to play the game. Let's start off with 1200p. So that's going to be native resolution. I've uncapped the frame rate. So for some stupid reason, it starts at 36 FPS. Like, weird, but whatever. Let's just go to 144. I do have VSync on, but I'll turn it off for now, and I'll show you why. We've got full screen on, show FPS off, because I'm going to use the Legion Space monitor just there. And I've got motion blur, yeah, as is. And then we're going TAA, so we're not going to use any other upscaling. So you've got FSR, anti-aliasing and stuff, or you've got FSR, XeSS, but I'm going to leave them all off. And we're just going to go TAA. Like I said, this is like a baseline for you to then tweak these settings. We're not going through every single thing, otherwise we'll be here all day. So I'm just going to go straight up native, and then I'm going to back out, save and continue. Let's go to graphics, and let's just start off with very, very low, right? Or very low. This looks horrendous, but I'll just show you the sort of baseline here at native resolution. Right, so now we are in the game. It's loaded me up at nighttime. And remember, we're at 1200p native, and we're on very low. So this is like as low as it possibly gets, and we are pumping all the power here. We're at 35 watts plugged in, right? I mean, I have to say, it looks really good. Even on very low, and very low doesn't look very good because I've already been playing this. And yeah, medium is my preferred setting, even though you're going to take an FPS like hit. Medium looks so much better, but mainly I've been playing this in the daytime. This is nighttime. Now, one thing I wanted to show is I'm noticing a lot of stuttering. So even on the Legion Go 2 here, I haven't tested any of the other devices yet, but even on the Legion Go 2, which has got 16 gig of VRAM set, which usually sorts out any stuttering issues, I am seeing screen tearing for one, even though this panel has VRR and we are in full screen as well, right? I'm noticing some screen tearing and some stuttering, so like inconsistent frame times. It's kind of a little bit meh. You can kind of fix that, by going in and turning on VSync, which I always hate doing because VSync introduces latency, and it does actually hit performance a little bit as well. So where possible, I disable VSync because you do not need to have VSync enabled to have VRR work correctly. This game, for some reason, the frame pacing or something isn't ideal. But you can see in the city just here, I'm getting around 54 FPS. Sometimes it's a bit higher. I imagine sometimes it's a little bit lower. I saw when we drove into the city here, I was getting like nearly 70. So it's going to be very area dependent. But the city here is obviously really built up. So there's a lot going on. 58 here. I mean, I've just stacked it into the corner. Oh, we can do the rewind, right? So I'm going to just press and hold rewind. Whoop, do some Prince of Persia stuff. Maybe my driver's Prince of Persia, like, you know, maybe he's the prince, I don't know. But anyway, so we're at around sort of nearly 60, like 55, 57. This is totally playable. And remember, this is native 1200p at very low. So I'm going to keep it at 1200p, right? I think that's acceptable. I think this is good performance. Bear in mind, you can unplug it, you know, and drop the resolution and stuff like that to get even better performance, battery life, and all that kind of stuff. This is just showing you what it's like plugged in, right? So I'm going to go to up to, let's just go to medium. Let's skip low and go straight to medium. Again, 1200p, and there's no upscaling going on. Now, medium to me looks miles better. Look at this, way better, but look at the performance. The performance has tanked right down from the mid 50s down to the sort of mid 40s. So we're taking like a 20% decrease in performance here just for it to look a lot better. But to be perfectly honest, even 45 to 50 FPS here is totally playable. Like, it still feels super good, like in terms of like how responsive it is and how it looks. Like, I think it looks, look at my car. Whoops, I'm not a good driver in this apparently. But yeah, 45 FPS, totally acceptable, I think. But just bear in mind, we're still at 1200p, right? So I think that still is acceptable. Let's keep it at medium, and let's drop this down to, let's go to 1000p, right? So 1000p. So we were getting around the mid 40s at 1200p. Immediately we've jumped up to 52. So 52, 53, I think my car's screwed. I'm just driving around in circles. Yep, I'm just doing donuts without doing anything. I don't know how to fix your car in this, because I don't normally play this kind of game. But yeah, we're up higher performance now. So instead of being at around the sort of like 45 area at 1200p, at 1000p, we're at the sort of 50 mark. It is dropping down into the high 40s, but obviously I've just gone out of the same area where we were in previously. But you are getting, let's say, like a 10% bump in performance. And again, you can go through and tweak these settings. I'm just using the presets, the normal presets, like low, medium, and high, that kind of stuff. I'm not going through and actually adjusting it, which would totally give you better optimization, right? But that is 1000p. Still think that's totally playable. And remember, we're at medium now, just stock. So let's just go ahead and go down to 800p. Which is obviously the equivalent of 700p, but at 16 by 10. I'm really glad that this game actually supports 16 by 10, like properly supported. We're not got black bars here. It's not just 16 by 9. It's actually full 16 by 10. And of course, it looks absolutely gorgeous on the Legion Go 2's OLED display. It looks very, very nice. And again, the performance has gone up again. So instead of getting around 50 at 1000p, we're at the sort of 55 mark. So another sort of 10% bump increase. Still drops down to the high 40s, but it still looks good at 800p on medium. And just remember, there's no upscaling going on here. So you can throw on XeSS or FSR and you can go through those. I personally really like it native because it is crispy. When I was testing this off camera, I tried some FSR, and like the FSR is so sort of, the image is so weak, you know, it's so sort of blurry and unstable. I much prefer just running it at lower resolution with native resolution where possible. And I think it looks very good. So I do think this will run. Again, you can tweak this to your heart's content. You can tweak the presets. You can run this at low, very low, whatever you want to do. Throw on some upscaling there and, you know, jobs are good. But I think this is totally playable on the Legion Go 2. Let's try out the next device. Okay, and now we are on to the MSI Claw 8 AI Plus. I do have it plugged in, and I am going manual mode and just rinsing it out, you know, just maxing it out all the way on the sliders so that we're getting full power there, because I don't know if the AI mode will just max it out for me or not, so I just better be safe than sorry, right? So we are in the game now. It took an absolute age for it to load. I do want to say that. For some reason, this game just takes ages to load. Really annoying. So let's go 1200p. Let's turn off the 30 cap. Let's put it up to 120, which is the max output of this screen. Not that we're going to get anywhere near that. Let's try this with VSync off and see if we're getting the same stutters and stuff that we're getting on the Legion Go 2, which is weird. Let's just see if this gets it. Full screen on, yes please. No, we're going to use the MSI overlay. We're going to go TAA again, no upscaling, but we are going native, of course. So we're going 1200p, and it says press space. So I'm guessing that's start, is it? Why is it inputting as not a controller? I don't know what's going on there. Let's just back out, and it should say save and continue. Yes, save and continue. Why is it not showing inputs as a controller? It's on gamepad mode. That's a bit weird. Okay, so for some reason on here, it's not showing as a controller input. It's showing as keyboard and mouse for all the inputs just there. Whatever, let's go to graphics and preset, do what we did on the Legion Go 2. So let's go very low. And yeah, let's save and continue, cool. I don't know what the buttons are because it's showing mouse and keyboard. Weird, but whatever. So now we are in the game. Just here, look at that performance. Holy crikey. Oh, I can't drive. Because it thinks I'm on a mouse and keyboard? What is going on here? Right, so I had to restart the game. I've no idea why it wasn't inputting the inputs. It thought I was using keyboard and mouse or something, like weird. Right, I don't know if this is a fair test. I do expect this to actually outperform the Z2 Extremes, as it already is. Look at that performance. But bear in mind, when we tested the Legion Go 2, it was nighttime. And it was raining, so different effects on the screen, different stuff to render out and stuff, so it's not a fair comparison. However, I do expect, obviously, this Intel APU to outperform it, as we can see here. I think in this area, we were getting sort of low 70s, so 60 to 70 FPS on the Legion Go 2, whereas we are eating it up alive just here at 80. Now, I'm going to get into the city and just see how much the performance tanks, because that's where we did most of our testing. So bear in mind, we are at 1200p native on very low. You can see the frame rate already is dropping down now from like 80 down into the 60s, which I would expect. But we are still getting better performance, because I think we were only in the sort of mid to high 50s on the Legion Go 2, whereas here, we are actually like in the 60s. Now, let's just see before we actually go and start changing settings. Let's just see if we're getting any stuttering. It looks better than the Legion Go 2 in terms of frame pacing and stuff. I'm trying to look at the buildings as I'm driving forward. They seem to be a lot smoother. I don't know if it's fully fixed, but I would say it's a lot better than on the Legion Go 2 in terms of like smoothness with the frame pacing and stuff. And the performance is just better. Look at it. We're at like 70 FPS here, even in the city, peaking up to like 80 when I like stack it into the side, right? So this is getting more frame rate just here, between high 60s all the way up to like high 70s. That's very, very good, considering we're not using any upscaling and we're at native resolution on very low. Let's hope the inputs don't break like they did when I started this up. So let's go back to video. I'm still on full screen, and I think I had VSync off. So let's just turn VSync on and just go from there, right? Let's just see how this is. I expect the frame rate to be roughly the same, but I just want to see if it really tightens up that smoothness or not. Yeah, it is a lot smoother on here than it is on the Legion Go 2, which is surprising, because the Legion Go 2's got a lot more RAM. Maybe I had too much VRAM set on the Legion Go 2. Maybe this is quite a RAM heavy game and it wants less RAM set to the VRAM, because on the Legion Go 2 I've got a 16 gig split, right? But yeah, way smoother on this. Immediately a lot smoother. So now let's go in and change the settings. So I'm going to keep it at 1200p, right? But we're going to go back. I'm not using any upscaling either. We're going to go into graphics and performance and go straight to medium like we did on the other device. So now we're on medium, which infinitely looks better. And yeah, we've dropped down to almost Legion Go 2 performance now, actually, when we've dropped this, the frame rate's dropped that high, that much. We're seeing the frame rate drop from what, high 70s down to like 45 to 50 FPS, which actually puts it in line now with 1200p on the Legion Go 2 at medium settings. So yeah, it's pretty similar in terms of performance there. So yeah, it's taken a really big hit in performance by just chucking it onto medium, right, and keeping it at 1200p. But this does look miles better. And again, this screen is still really good on the MSI Claw 8 AI Plus. Despite the fact it's not an OLED, still looks really good. And again, it really aids to how good this game looks when you're running it without upscaling. That's for you to decide if you want to do. I'm just showing you the sort of like base level, if we're throwing all the power of the device on it and just keeping it native and just checking out the presets in terms of graphics, right? Which is totally playable. So we can say it's totally playable, but it looks very sharp. Once you throw FSR on there, it's going to make it look super muddy and like artifacty, just because we'll be upscaling from such a low internal resolution. Whereas this looks so crispy. Like it's so crispy. I could play this easily at 50 FPS, you know, this looks good. But for the sake of it, let's drop the resolution down and let's keep it at medium, because I think medium's the best looking in terms of low and very low, as you would expect, right? So let's go down here to 1000p. Oh, did we not get 1000p? Weird, we got 1000p on the Legion Go 2, but not here. So we're going 1680 to 1050, which is pretty much the equivalent of 1000p, right? And straight away, frame rate has jumped up from the sort of mid 40s to low 50s to just a solid 55 FPS here. But yeah, it's very smooth, very smooth in comparison to the Legion Go 2. This is looking very good indeed. So yeah, high 40s to like mid 50s at 1050p still looks super sharp. Now let's just drop this down to, I don't know, let's say like 800p if it will let me. Yep, 1280 by 800p, save. And let's see what the frame rate's like. Bam, jumped straight up to 60s. So low 60s to mid 60s now. And again, even at 800p, it looks very good. And to be fair, I don't know if I'd be able to distinguish 800p from 1200p just looking at it now. Maybe, but you're getting a big frame rate increase. So 1200p on medium was getting, what, 45 FPS? Whereas now we're getting up to 70 at 800p with medium settings still. So 1050p might be a good compromise. This is more than playable, of course. It's super smooth on here. I have to say, like, this is definitely much smoother than the Legion Go 2. But anyway, that's the MSI Claw 8 AA Plus. Is it playable? Will it run? Hell yeah.
Right, it's time for me to pay the 128KB bills with today's totally impartial video sponsor, and that's GAMESIR. And today we're lucky enough to introduce the brand new GAMESIR G7 Pro Dragon's Dogma 2 edition. And this really has some tricks up its sleeves if you're looking for the ultimate Xbox or PC controller. You get this absolutely stunning exclusive Dragon's Dogma 2 theme on a swappable magnetic faceplate right out of the box, but they didn't just slap a nice design on it and call it a day. This is one of the first Xbox licensed controllers to feature a bleeding edge MagRes TMR joysticks. That means you get ultra smooth feel with absolutely zero stick drift ever. You're also getting Hall effect triggers with micro switch stops for that instant hair trigger firing, optical micro switch ABXY buttons for that crisp mouse click response, and 4 extra programmable buttons. And it is incredibly versatile. It features tri-mode connectivity, offering rock solid wired play on Xbox, Bluetooth for mobile, and 2.4 GHz wireless mode for PC that hits a massive 1000 Hz polling rate for that lightning fast input. It comes bundled with its own smart auto start-stop charging station, which looks incredible on the desk, and it means you literally never never have to worry about a dead battery again. So if you want elite pro level performance combined with a legendary design at a price point that hasn't gone all Ramageddon on us, then this is it. Hit the link in the description to check out the GAMESIR G7 Pro DD2 edition, and by doing so you were directly supporting the channel. And of course, massive thanks to GAMESIR for sponsoring this video.
And now we're on to the Xbox Ally X, because we've just done all the high-powered devices. We'll save the baby one for last this time. It does have the default preview power profile thingamajig on, but I've just selected 35 watt turbo because I am plugged in. I've got this open, I'll change the resolution in the game, and I've got CPU boost off, and I've got 10 gig of VRAM set on this device. Wow, the screen seems really small compared to the MSI Claw and the Legion Go 2. But yeah, there we go. Let's go into the settings and go to settings. And let's go down to video. Oops, wrong one, video. And let's go 1080p, so, you know, maxed out just there in terms of resolution. Let's uncap the frame rate. Let's turn off VSync for now. And let's just have a quick double check everything's fine there. Yep, so save. And then we're going to go to graphics and performance, and it said that it wants to run it at high, because every time you launch this game, it doesn't care what you've set. It's just like optimizing settings. It's like, no, don't do that, please. But whatever, very low. Let's start there because that's what we did on the other devices. And let's just give it a sec and we'll see where we go with this one. So we're at very low, 1080p. And let's just double check here because it's still showing 720. Let's just put 1080p on here and let's go back to video. Yeah, 1080p full screen is on, so I don't know why it wasn't correlating there, because usually when you change the resolution in game, it will change it here too. But I just wanted to double check and I'm glad I did. But anyway, oops, let's put that back to very low. So now we're in the game and we're at like 70 FPS. Whoa, this car is skatey. I'm immediately noticing the issue I had on the Legion Go 2, where it's a bit stuttery. Like if you look at the sides, watch the trees going past, they're not exactly as smooth as we were seeing on the MSI Claw, for example. Can you stop rewinding now? Whoa! Oh, okay, ghost car, cool. So we're actually at like 60 to 65 to 70 FPS. Let's get down into the city just to see what performance we're actually going to get, because this area is not as built up, so we will see some better frame rate and stuff there. Let's just see when we get inside here. You can see the frame rate's now going down. Whoa, a bit fast. I am noticing that sort of frame pacing issue I was getting on the Legion Go 2, which could be a Z2 Extreme issue. It could be an AMD driver problem or something like that. I was thinking it was VRAM issues on the Legion Go 2, but it's definitely stuttering on here. So it's kind of funny that, you know, this is like an Xbox game and it runs better on the MSI Claw than it does on the Xbox Ally X in terms of like frame pacing and stuff. Yeah, it's definitely not very smooth. Let's see if we can fix that by going into video and just turning on the dreaded VSync, which I really dislike putting on, but here we go. Let's just see if that helps. So yeah, the frame pacing and stuttering and stuff is very noticeable here. We are getting sort of like mid 60s, so like low to mid 60s FPS wise, which is good. We are at 1080p, so bear in mind, like when we were looking at the MSI Claw and the Legion Go 2, those devices are actually 16 by 10 devices, so the resolution's actually greater, so they'll have more demanding resolutions to render. This is a 16 by 9 resolution, so it's actually less demanding slightly, right? So just bear that in mind. But we're at about 64, 65 FPS, which is pretty much in line with the Legion Go 2. The MSI Claw was just a bit more performant than that, but definitely this is a stuttery mess for me. It's a bit hideous, if I'm perfectly honest. Let's go and change the graphics up to medium. Now we're in medium, it immediately looks so much nicer, but we've instantly hit the same performance as the Legion Go 2, actually slightly less. So the Legion Go 2 was sitting at around 45. This, I suppose it is. This dipped down from the low 40s up to sort of mid 40s. So it pretty much is in line with the Legion Go 2, which we would expect. They've got the same APU, bar the fact that this has got the AI, you know, MPU, which we are not using currently. So just bear that in mind. So around sort of like mid 40s to 50, but it is stuttering. This is stuttering a lot worse than the Legion Go 2 was. And bear in mind that the MSI Claw didn't stutter pretty much at all, or if it did, it was very little in comparison to this. So we're sat around 50 FPS. Let's just say 50 FPS at 1080p medium, right? Let's now go ahead and drop the resolution down. So I'm going to go to video and let's go to 900p and save. And let's just see if we net any performance here. Bear in mind, this is medium. There's no upscaling. Remember, this is raster, right? So this is native. And when I say raster, I don't mean Rastafarian. Whoever left that comment made me laugh a lot. So yeah, I enjoyed that. We're getting around high 50s to like 60 FPS. So a noticeable increase. We're getting what? 10% increase in performance, maybe, roughly. It does dip down still to like 50, but I definitely saw it go up to about 60 as well. Still stuttering, like quite considerably stuttering here. But you know, just bear that in mind. So that's pretty good. It's not too bad. 900p. Let's drop it down to 720p and see what it's like there. Like I said, bear in mind we're not using upscaling, so you can throw on FSR or XeSS or whatever upscaling you want and adjust the presets as well. We're just going through the stock presets. So now we're at 720p. I mean, the performance seems to be pretty much the same as 900p. We're getting high 50s to sort of mid 50s here, but I'm definitely noticing that stuttering. Like it's very distracting. Doesn't feel as smooth as it could be at all, especially when I experienced it on the MSI Claw 8 AI Plus. That was a lot smoother experience. So we are getting up to like 60 here. Obviously, I've just entered a different area. Oh, 65. So I think it's just the zone. We are seeing an increase in performance by dropping down to 720p. But yeah, the stuttering is a little bit unfortunate, if I'm perfectly honest. But that is the Xbox Ally X. Let's chuck over to the Xbox Ally and see how that fares. So now we are on to the Xbox Ally, the baby one. We are plugged in. Let's wait for this thing to load. It's a little bit slow. We're at maxed out 20 watts. It does have the default game profile thing on, but you know, I've chosen 20 watts because I'm plugged in, right? We want to max this out. We are at 720p. That's where we're going to stay on this one. And we should have CPU boost off as well. Let's go into the game settings. So let's just go to settings and go to video. Make sure we're at 720p. Let's turn off the cap, right? Just by maxing it out to the highest refresh rate on this. Let's turn VSync off for now. And that's this page done. And hit save. Then go back. We're going to go to graphics and we're going to go very low to start off with. So here we are in the game, very low, and whoa, I'm already noticing the stuttering. So I noticed stuttering on the Legion Go 2 and the Xbox Ally X, but not as much on the MSI Claw 8 AI Plus. I noticed some stuttering straight away there. We're at like 50 FPS, but I'm just going to drive into the city just to see, you know, what it's like then, because obviously it's going to start tanking once we're rendering in all the buildings and stuff. So we are pretty much getting into the city now, and I mean, this is totally playable. We're at like 40 FPS or so. Totally playable. Obviously, we're on very low, but this device, I think, is more impressive being able to run this at like mid 40s, sometimes spiking up to 50, sometimes dropping to like the 40s, right? Just because this is the Z2A APU, so it is considerably weaker than the other devices that we've played. I'm just rewinding here because I stacked it and then the car brakes. Oh, saw some big freezing just there, but I mean, it did just come out of the rewind, but that wasn't ideal. Yeah, I'm trying to see on the buildings if we're stuttering as much, and it doesn't quite look like we are. We do have CPU utilization at 100% here, and GPU utilization is almost maxed out as well at 90. Let's just see if throwing CPU boost actually does anything. Oh, it's a little bit slow, this device, so let's just give it a second. CPU boost on. Right, let's just watch those numbers. So GPU utilization is pretty much the same. CPU utilization is now exactly the same. So the utilization there doesn't seem to have changed. It's just pretty much maxing out everything. But again, we're at sort of like mid 40s spiking up into the 50s. I think this is totally playable actually. And bear in mind, we're not using any upscaling. This is native, right? I am still noticing, do you see in the trees and stuff there, the stuttering? Like it's like, that's exactly what I was seeing on the other AMD devices, but not on the Intel one at least, or at least much less. So yeah, frame pacing or something is not ideal. It's probably a driver issue from AMD for these APUs, I imagine. Couldn't tell you for certain. Now, let's just try changing this to, let's just go to medium, because that's what I tested everything else at, right? Let's just try it at medium. Bear in mind, like I said, this is native resolution, right? So I'm not using any upscaling. So you should be able to get even better performance if you want to tweak all that kind of stuff yourself. This is just like a baseline, will the game run? That's why we did 720p, all low, or very low. And I think that is actually playable. Let's just try it at medium just to see what it's like. So here we go, we're at medium. And, oh, we're in the 20s now. Yeah, we're in the 20s. That's, yeah, now it's not playable. But I mean, very low at 720p, totally playable. And of course you can throw on upscaling stuff as well. I'm just gonna double check to make sure that upscaling definitely isn't on. But I'm pretty certain that it should be off. Yeah, so we got TAA on and all the FSRs and XeSS and all that kind of stuff is off. So yeah. Is it playable on the Xbox Ally? Absolutely. Will you get some stuttering? Yes. I'd recommend that you just run it on very low, 720p. If you want to throw some upscaling on, go for it. If not, you'll get a much cleaner image just by leaving it native like I was doing at the start of this section. But there we go. It does run on the Xbox Ally. So there we have it. Will it run on handheld? Yeah, like it runs on all of these handhelds, even on the base Xbox Ally, right? But I did notice on all of the AMD devices, so the Xbox Ally, the Xbox Ally X, and the Legion Go 2, there was considerable frame time pacing issues or stuttering. So you could literally see that stuttering whilst you were driving and feeling it, even when the frame rate was like a decent frame rate. So that wasn't ideal. On the MSI Claw, the Intel variant just here though, it was much smoother and more performant. So it definitely felt nicer playing it on the Intel version just here, the MSI Claw 8AA Plus. I would say that takes the crown, but it is playable on all of these. Just bear in mind, like, that frame pacing issue is a bit meh. And I was testing all of this native, so you can throw on your own upscaling. You know, you could use lossless scaling as well, because I couldn't see that there was any frame gen like in the game. There might be, I didn't really look at it. So I just wanted to test all these native to give you like a foundational level that you can then change stuff yourself. You can adjust the graphics presets as well. I just did the stock ones, going from, you know, very low to medium and stuff like that. So this is a good foundational point. You can totally play on all of these devices, but I was a little bit disappointed that this is an Xbox game, and on the Xbox Allies, they stuttered worse than the Legion Go 2, which is a bit of a shame. The Legion Go 2 I noticed straight away because we tested that one first, and then it got worse as that went on. But the only one that stuttered less was, of course, the MSI just here. But will it run? Absolutely. Seems like a good game so far. And yeah, let me know if you're going to be playing it down in the comments. Sorry for not including the other devices. Like I said, we have to buy all our games here. So if it's on Game Pass, we're just going to test the Windows ones. I'm sorry about that, but there we go. Let me know your thoughts down there. What's down there? Like this video, subscribe, become a member, and you get to chat to us over on our private Discord. And I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.